So to this and much more, we leave it to the liberty of our next speaker, who in his slot is going to be talking about the same. Well, he's the country head of transactional banking at Yes Bank, a prominent private sector bank of India. In this role, he's the one responsible for overseeing and driving the bank's transaction banking business, which includes a range of services such as cash management, trade finance, and the payment solutions for the corporate and institutional clients. With a strong background in banking and finance, he plays a key role in strengthening Yes Bank's position in a competitive transaction banking space, ensuring that its services remain relevant and valuable to its corporate clients. With a warmer round of applause, it's indeed an honor to now call upon for the final session a speaker of that stature. Let's give it up for the country head transaction banking Yes Bank, Mr. Ajay Rajan.
Okay, so I guess as the last session, I'm standing between tea and the session, and the topic is, but though the topic is quite interesting, so I hope I'm able to keep all of you interested and awake, as we move towards the last session. So I think, it's India has announced its aspiration to become a $30 trillion economy by 2047, which is also our 100th year of independence. So, it's also coined as Viksit Bharat. And, I think what we'll cover over the next, minutes or so is in terms of how the government and more importantly, the regulator have, powered us towards this goal of Viksit Bharat. Can you go to the next slide, please? Okay, so I think, so we all see the spots number which we are right now, which is the 2023 number, and the aspiration which is towards the extreme right, which is 2047. So that's, I think, that's the stated goal which the government, has set for itself. But more than the slide, I think, I'll just talk about, some of the initiatives which the government, has taken. So, and also within that, the regulator and the Indian banking ecosystem. So, the Indian banking ecosystem has actually been very instrumental in elevating the country's GDP from 250 billion in 1990s to where it is today, which is 3.7 trillion. And as we hope to become the third largest economy in the world and achieving the goal of 30 trillion by 2047, I think banking powered by the whole digitization and digitalization initiatives of the government and the regulator is going to be a big catalyst towards the same. And what has really been the key factor here is the digital public infrastructure, and that is what we will cover in more detail in the going slides. I would also like to highlight here that India has been a role model in terms of how the private sector and the public sector have created this whole thing called combinatorial innovation. So that means they've joined together, combined their efforts together, and harness this whole digital public infrastructure which has got created, which is very unlike what has happened in the West. So, we keep saying West is developed and so on and so forth, but if you look at the whole way that West has developed, at least on the technology side, on the digital side, it has all been big tech driven, right? So Google and Amazon, Facebook, they have, been at the center of creating innovation. Whereas when you look at, and of course, there has been a profit motive, and those are the entities which have profited greatly, from all the developments which have happened there. But when you compare it with India, India has actually done it in a very unique manner. They have done it through infrastructure which has been created by the public sector, which is the government of India and the regulator. And they have opened that public infrastructure to the private sector at a very affordable cost, with inclusion as a motive and not profit. And the private sector has harnessed that whole infrastructure and created innovation on top of that, and led to the financial inclusion. So that's really, been the big difference between how West has done it and how in India, we have done it. So we will, peel this whole DPI, as we call it, while before we come to CBDC and ULI and few other initiatives. But I think it's important that before we reach there, we should understand the criticality and importance of what DPI, has done for us, right? And this whole foundation has been laid by India Stack, as we now know it, which is nothing but a sobriquet of open APIs, right, which has really transformed the whole country's social, financial, and economic landscape. So it's a 3-layered stack, as you can see on the left. There is an identity layer, there is a payment layer, and there is a data consent layer. The entire layer has been done on 3 broad principles. One is helping in population scale rollout. So if you look at all the initiatives, it has been built for scale. It has been built for 1 billion plus people. Second, it has been done in a democratized manner at affordable cost, right? And we'll talk about it. You look at UPI, you look at any other initiatives, it's all available for free for everyone, right? That's really how it has been built. And the third is it has been ubiquitous, inclusive, and universal in nature. So what do you mean by that is, again, there are 2 parts of India, right? There is an India, as we call it, or there is a Bharat. And, you have different genre of people, some who are digitally very savvy, some who do not understand digital very well, scared to use digital, right? So this whole DPI has been created for use of everyone, so that everyone gets comfort in doing transactions which are digitally. So that really has been, the key success here. So we'll just touch this journey a little bit. It started around 2009 with Aadhaar, right? And I think all of us know what Aadhaar does. It was started with social identity. So, to say that, okay, this is Ajay, this is Madhu, and so on and so forth. And from there, it transformed in around 2014 or so, where it was also started getting to be used as a validation tool. So that means you could use eKYC to validate, for a third party to validate that yes, you are Ajay, and so on and so forth, right? That led to the opening of Jan Dhan accounts. We opened 54 crore Jan Dhan accounts, right? 54 crore Jan Dhan accounts using eKYC. So what took us maybe 50 years to open those number of accounts, we could open in a few years itself, right? That was the power of Aadhaar. And then today, and then we started sending again through Aadhaar, AEPS, and all that. You started sending direct benefits to the bank accounts and so on and so forth. Just to throw some numbers, to date, 41 lakh crores has been transferred to Jan Dhan accounts. 41 lakh crores. As benefits. 2 lakh crores is the value of money which is lying in these accounts. 2 lakh crores. And we say that these have been opened for poor people, etc., etc. 2 lakh crores is the cumulative amount which is lying there. And what this 41 lakh crores or 2 lakh crores has also achieved is that this money was outside the financial ecosystem in the past. It has brought that money in the financial ecosystem. So it also means that data pertaining to all of this is now available in the formal banking or financial sector. So you can use that data now to look at lending, to look at various other initiatives that you would like to do with those people. And these have been people who have been outside the financial sector, right? They've been going to informal money lenders and so on and so forth. That really has changed with this. But it's not only the banks who have innovated on this. There is, Jio, for example, when they launched, and if you remember, they launched telephone free for the first 6 months. They could onboard 10 crore people in 6 months to avail free data. 10 crores. Zerodha opened crores of accounts using, again, eKYC during the COVID time, right? So private players have also harnessed this whole thing. The second layer, which is the payment layer, I don't think I need to really talk too much about it, is predominantly, UPI. Today, it is, the darling of the world in terms of what payments can achieve from a payment layer perspective. India today, because of UPI, manages 50% of global real-time payments. 50%. 84% of all electronic payments today in the country today are from UPI. That's the scale that we have built, and it is built to handle around 1 billion transactions a day. So there is still a lot of leeway for us to grow from where we are today. That's really the scale at which it has been built. The third layer is going to be really critical as we move towards Viksit Bharat. With all of these initiatives around 1 and 2, what has happened is a lot of digital history has got created. Now, what do you do with that digital history, right? If you don't monetize it, if you don't bring people more financial service, then really, what's the benefit of doing all of that? That is where the consent layer or the data layer is going to be very critical. So today you have all of this, data along with you. What we are now doing here through account aggregator, which the Reserve Bank also piloted, is they are giving that power of using that data to regulated entities called account aggregators. So as a consumer today, I have now the power to give my data, to give consent to this account aggregator to share my data with potential lenders or investment companies or so on and so forth, insurance companies, and for them to give me the best product which they can give based on the data that I have shared with them. That's the power, right? Power in the hand of the consumer is what this data layer is going to give. So that's really what this whole India stack has done. In summary, about this DPI, India, I think, has achieved in less than a decade what would have taken at least 4 to 5 decades for us to achieve. So it took us 5 decades to reach those number of bank accounts or to have that much amount of credit and so on and so forth. In 7 years, 8 years, we've achieved all of that, right? That's really the power of the DPI which has got created, and at very, very reduced cost, almost nil cost, from a consumer perspective. Just 2-3 things I'll want to highlight here. It's a small room, so you can hear me in the last. 37 crores KYC was done in December 24. And why is this number important? The population of United States of America is 33 crores. Effectively, what it means is that the entire population of USA, more than that, and few other European countries added together, you have KYC'd in a month, or you KYC every month. So, पूरा US को आप एक महीने, हर महीने KYC कर रहे हो. That is the scale at which we are operating, right? We have 212 crore accounts which are linked through account aggregator. You have 16 billion transactions in December in UPI, 16 billion, which is 16% of the capacity for which it is created. You are capacitized for, 50%. You are capacitized for 30 billion transactions a month, which is 1 billion a day. You have only reached 16. So, that's the scale at which we are operating. We'll talk a bit about CBDC, right? So we keep hearing about crypto and all other things. Again, India took a very progressive stand here, and we actually launched, and we are all actually fortunate in that manner that we have actually seen a currency being piloted in our lifetime. It's a big thing, right? We will understand this gravity as we grow old, and our kids use CBDC probably a lot more than what we are doing right now. But we have actually seen the launch of a currency in a digital manner, right? It is extremely powerful. It has multiple features. One feature, of course, being payments, but it is not a payment instrument. A lot of people confuse CBDC, and they keep asking, when UPI is there, why do we need CBDC, and so on and so forth. CBDC is not meant to be a payment instrument. It is a currency. Money in your wallet is equal to, physical cash in your wallet is equal to digital cash in your CBDC wallet. That's really what it is, right? So it is stored value. आप पैसा अपने wallet में रख रहे हो, and you are using it. But of course, it has various other benefits. It cannot be lost. So even if you lose your phone, you can redeem your wallet, right? It cannot be faked. It is again a actual token which is transferred between people. And of course, it saves a lot of money for the regulator. Regulator spends close to 6,000 crores printing, managing currency. And of course, there is a loss due to counterfeiting and so on and so forth. All of that gets eliminated the more we move towards CBDC. So use cases for CBDC mainly started with P2P, went to P2M, so you pay merchants through CBDC. And what happened is that RBI made CBDC interoperable with UPI. So that means agar UPI ka QR code laga hai, you can not only use UPI in that QR code, you can also use CBDC in your QR code. So today in UPI जो आपका पूरा बैंक अकाउंट स्टेटमेंट 20-25 पेज का हो गया, 10 रुपए का चाय, 15 रुपए का सिगरेट, everything comes in your bank statement. Nothing comes in CBDC, everything is in your wallet. Your bank account statement is actually very clean, right? So, and with no change from your perspective, you are using the same QR code, only a different app to do it, app which is made in India, right? So that, I think, is really where the P2P is, P2M is. So now G2P, which is the government payments, the DBT transfers are also underway. In fact, Orissa did the first transfer to beneficiaries via CBDC, but that's again area which will grow more and more. Two features which I would like to highlight here, which is going to be a big differentiation for CBDC. One, offline functionality. So India still, as I said earlier, is India and Bharat, right? So there are still areas in the country where internet connectivity is low, or in some cases there is no connectivity. CBDC is right now being tested for offline functionality, so that that person sitting in a rural village where electricity may or may not be there, right? That person may not have a smartphone. UPI doesn't work without a smartphone, right? You need a smartphone. So those features are being built on CBDC so that that person who's getting the DBT, that farmer who's getting a transfer, is able to use in an offline manner with a feature phone the CBDC which has come to his account. So that's going to be the power of financial inclusion getting unleashed via CBDC. Second is programmability. So a lot of times the government, and I mentioned to you 41 lakh crores got transferred via DBT. Government also transfers a lot of specific use case payments, right? Scholarship dete hain bachchon ko, girl child ke liye, they pay some money for certain usages. They send money to farmers for buying seeds. Now what happens is this money goes into the bank accounts and then it may or may not be misused in whichever shape, right? With CBDC, you are programming that money for use only for the purpose for which it was intended for. So that is going to be the very value-added feature which is going to make sure that money is used for the purpose it is intended. So those are work in progress. It's still in the pilot stage. It is still not launched. So a lot of you may not probably be using CBDC, but I would encourage, almost 14 banks are live on CBDC. So you should reach out to your bank and get access to opening a CBDC and use it, experiment it. It actually is a beautiful experience, from a usage perspective, right? There are other use cases also which are, happening. Most importantly on that is cross-border. For importers, exporters, that's going to be a big change. Today, money movement between countries in the traditional manner takes between 1 to 2 days, right? CBDC, when it is launched and whenever it is at which stage, the agreements between the government or the regulator are formalized, will make this transfers almost instantaneously. So imagine an exporter getting money same time as the importer is sending, similar to how you get UPI, is really what CBDC can potentially achieve whenever CBDC cross-border goes live. So watch this space. It's going to be hugely disruptive. You can, former Governor, Reserve Bank of India himself made the statement that this is going to be the future of money. Right? So UPI transformed payments. I think CBDC will transform physical cash. So India will become a less cash economy, and I think a lot of the use cases will get diverted towards CBDC in due course. The next innovation, which the Reserve Bank actually brought out is ULI. And here again, if you actually look at, what Honorable Governor said, he actually said that ULI is going to do for lending what UPI did for payments. It's a very strong statement to make. The second trinity so far, other than Lord Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh, was also known as Jam Trinity, the Jandan Aadhaar Mobile. In fact, Governor Sir also said that the next trinity from a financial service perspective could be the Jam, UPI and ULI. So what is ULI actually, right? Now today, as I said, right, so there is, there are many people who are unbanked, underbanked, who may not have digital footprint, or those digital footprints are available but are not accessible, right? Today, there are various spectrum of banks. There are large private banks or public sector banks who are digitally very savvy. So they have access, created access to GST, to PAN and e-invoicing and so on and so forth, and bank statement, etc., through account aggregators or other forms. And they get those information, they evaluate you, and they give you a loan saying you are good for 5 lakh, 10 lakh, 3 lakh, 1 lakh, etc., right? But there are also spectrum of people whose account access, information access is not available. Now there is a farmer, for example, who's selling milk. Abhi, how does one get access ki usne kitna doodh becha? Right? So he may be selling thousands of liters of milk, but it's all in cash, nothing hits the bank account. So people don't know ki this is actually credit worthy guy, right? 1,000 liter ka doodh bech raha hai at, say, assuming 20 rupees liter. That guy is generating a lot of money per day, right? Now, what ULI has done is that, and again, it is an initiative which is piloted under the aegis of Reserve Bank of India. It has been created by Reserve Bank of India Innovation Hub. Right? So it has the credibility that it has the highest level of credibility. So what they've done is they've got all these accesses, and they're still working on getting more access, and they are providing this access through a single platform. So no longer as a lender do I have to go to 100 different sources and do 100 different integration. ये एक प्लेटफॉर्म से अगर मैं इंटीग्रेट करता हूँ, मुझे 100 टाइप के इंफॉर्मेशन मिलता है, चाहे वो कंज्यूमर का हो या एमएसएमई का हो, एंड आई कैन यूज दैट इंफॉर्मेशन टू डू माई असेसमेंट, क्रेडिट असेसमेंट ऑफ व्हाट क्रेडिट or how much credit can I give to this person or to this company. That is the power of digital getting harnessed in a single platform, and again, because it's a DPI, in a democratized manner, being given to everyone. So it is no longer the कि ये बैंक में इन्वेस्टमेंट का पैसा है तो इस बैंक को एक्सेस है. Whether it is a big bank, small bank, cooperative bank, every institution gets access to the same information. Now what they make out of the information, obviously, they will have to build it, but access to information को ULI ने standardize कर दिया है. It's a big thing from a lender's perspective, because today a lot of lenders don't have that kind of access, right? So in due course, when ULI gets direct access to customers, or the similar to access to information, it is also maybe in due course providing how to read that digital footprint and how to analyze the creditworthiness of a person. So sometime in due course, when all of those features also come in, I think it becomes a very, very solid platform in order for lenders to lend to, assess and lend to potential customers. So again, as the governor said, it has the potential to become the UPI of lending. So all of what we spoke about till now, has been domestic, right? So how does India reach its domestic, become a domestic powerhouse? All this DPI which is created for use in domestic lending, payment, data, etc., etc. But baby steps are also being taken to see that how with India becoming the third largest economy, and of course, being a global trade powerhouse or economic powerhouse, how do we make rupee more strong, right? How do we ensure internalization of Indian rupee, right? So again, it's very nascent, and for people who have followed President Trump, he just made a statement 2 days back that any country whose intents of upsetting the mighty dollar will have to pay tariffs, etc., etc. So in context of all of that, we'll have to see how the government takes the next steps on this. But at this point, it is aspirational, it is very nascent, and the government, as well as followed by regulator, are trying to see how we take our steps towards making rupee into a global currency. How do importers and exporters work with their trade partners, on transacting in rupee, so that they don't have to, they're not impacted by the dollar volatility or euro volatility or etc. They are their home currency, and they get what they sold for, and they pay only the currency in which they get their money in. So that broadly is on this topic. So I will and that's really what I had, but I'm open to questions on any of the topics that we spoke about, and happy to take it from there. Sorry? Rupee wala? हाँ यही है. Explain what part? You mean which products are there in ULI? ये वाला? So this is, so see the features like I was explaining earlier is, so ULI is a single platform. Today, okay, let's take today's example so you'll relate it to better, right? So आज के दिन में आपका account for example बैंक A के साथ है, right? Now and सर का जो अकाउंट है वो बैंक बी के साथ है. आपका बैंक जो है बड़ा डिजिटल savvy है, तो उसके पास ये सारे एक्सेस है. फॉर एग्जांपल आपका बैंक अकाउंट स्टेटमेंट का एक्सेस है, आप कहाँ से आपका पूरा यूपीआई का पेमेंट का उसको एक्सेस है, उसके पास आपकी छोटी कंपनी है फॉर एग्जांपल, तो आपका जो जीएसटी डेटा है उसका एक्सेस है. योर बैंक हैज़ क्रिएटेड ऑल ऑफ दोज सेपरेट एक्सेसेस टू गेट ऑल दोज इन्फॉर्मेशन. वो सारा जो डिजिटल फुटप्रिंट है, एक्सेस है, द बैंक इज एनालाइजिंग ऑल ऑफ दैट एंड सेइंग अच्छा ये इतना खरीद रहा है, इतना बेच रहा है, ये 5 दिन 5 स्टार होटल में जाके रुका, या ये बिजनेस क्लास जाता है, सो ही इज़ अ रिच कस्टमर, ही हैज़ अ गुड क्रेडिट कार्ड, सो आई वॉन्ट टू गिव क्रेडिट टू दिस पर्सन. ठीक है, सो ही सेज इतना है. बट व्हाट द बैंक हैज डन इज दे हैव इन्वेस्टेड इन क्रिएटिंग ऑल दो सेपरेट एपीआईज, राइट, एंड देन क्रिएटिंग अ रूल इंजन एंड देन डूइंग ऑल ऑफ दैट. जो बैंक बी है, बैंक बी इस टेक्नोलॉजी वाइज इतना स्ट्रांग नहीं है. ठीक है, छोटा बैंक है, उसमें इतना डिजिटल उन्होंने नहीं बनाया है. सो वो बैंक के बाद आप जाओगे लोन लेने के लिए, तो वो आपसे पेपर मांगेगा, अच्छा भैया ये पेपर दे दो, वो पेपर दे दो, एंड देन दे विल सिट एंड एनालाइज एंड दे विल देन डिसाइड. मे बी दे डोंट गेट ऑल द डेटा, बिकॉज जितनी इसकी इंटेलिजेंस है उतना ही वो मांगेगा, तो उतना ही मिलेगा, उतना ही दे विल गिव लोन. सो बैंक ए में बिकॉज ऑफ दिस यू मे गेट अ लोन ऑफ 5 लाख, बैंक बी में दैट पर्सन में गेट अ लोन ऑफ 1 लाख, और ही मे नॉट गेट अ लोन एट ऑल, राइट. बट this bank has spent a lot of money doing all these integrations. Now look at ULI. So ULI क्या है? RBI ने platform बनाया. This platform is available to all lenders. A, B, C सब lenders को है. ठीक है. दूसरा, जब बैंक A ने इन्वेस्ट करके जो अलग अलग पाइप APIs जो हैं वो क्रिएट करे, ULI has separately done all those APIs with all these information. Plus, because it is the regulator who has created it, they have done for all other type. जैसे उन्होंने, I'll give a small example. जो डेयरी का एग्जाम्पल दिया था, फार्मर जो दूध बेच रहा है, so they जो डेयरी जो दूध खरीदता है, जो एंटिटी दूध खरीदता है, द मिल्क कितना उन्होंने किससे इतना खरीदा, दैट होल इंफॉर्मेशन इज अवेलेबल डिजिटल. सो दे एक्सपोज्ड APIs विद दैट एंटिटी ऑल्सो. सो दे हैव फार्मर लेवल डेटा ऑफ how much this farmer sold to this entity. Now and that information is available via ULI. So if I want to go and finance that farmer, I can get consent. Achha, the best part is it is consent based. So the farmer comes and says, मुझे लोन चाहिए. तो उसको मैं बोलता हूँ, अच्छा भैया अपना फिर इन्फॉर्मेशन बताओ क्या है. तो वो बोलता है आप ना ULI को मैं आपको एक्सेस देता हूँ, मैं डेली कितना दूध बेचता हूँ आप उसका एक्सेस ले लो. So he gives that consent to me. Me as a lender goes to ULI and I select that information. I get that information. So I know कि वो दिन का 20,000 रुपये का दूध बेच रहा है. So that means महीने का वो कम से कम नहीं तो 6 लाख रुपए का बिजनेस कर रहा है. मतलब 6 lakh rupees is a lot of money, right? I can give a big loan to that person. So that ability to connect all that information through one data, and not only for bank A, which is digital savvy, even bank B, which is not digital savvy. So they don't have the investment to do all of those, but because they can only one interaction with ULI, and again because ULI is owned by promoted by the regulator, there is no cost. Free of cost है. So वो free में he can get access to all that information and then they do the credit assessment. So that same farmer information now via ULI is available to bank A and bank B.
This will be other information than what this credit rating agency.
It will have all information, including credit rating agency. It is the Amazon. So जैसे सब कुछ मिलता है Amazon में.
Charged thing or it will be free for?
No, so access to ULI is free. ULI का जो फर्दर एक्सेस है टू दिस इंफॉर्मेशन, अगर वो एंटिटी चार्ज कर रहा है तो ULI उतना ही चार्ज करेगा. अगर वो एंटिटी नहीं चार्ज कर रहा है तो आपको भी फ्री में मिल जाएगा. सो इट इज़ नॉट फॉर प्रॉफिट, इट इज़ डेमोक्रेटाइज. सो देर इज़ नो, इट इज़ नॉट प्रॉफिट मोटिव से नहीं बनाया है, इसको इंक्लूजन मोटिव से बनाया है.
तो जैसे आपने डेयरी का एग्जांपल दिया वैसे सब बिजनेस का इंफॉर्मेशन होगा.
एग्जैक्टली. सो अभी जो है वो 6 प्रोडक्ट लाइव है. किसान क्रेडिट कार्ड है, डेयरी लोन्स है, MSME लोन्स है विच इज़ अनसिक्योर्ड, पर्सनल लोन और होम लोन्स. होम लोन में फॉर एग्जांपल लैंड रिकॉर्ड डिजिटाइजेशन. सो मैं आपको इसका एग्जांपल देता हूँ. आज के दिन में अगर आप घर लेना है आपको, राइट, तो यू विल नीड एक्सेस टू द रजिस्ट्रेशन डेटा. रजिस्ट्रेशन डेटा मैनुअल है. ULI में दे हैव डन स्टेट बाय स्टेट दे आर इंटीग्रेटिंग. सो जो लैंड रिकॉर्ड का जो APIs है दे हैव पुट ऑन ULI. सो इफ आई हैव टू गिव यू हाउस लोन अगेंस्ट अ हाउस, आई कैन जस्ट पिंग एंड टेक एक्सेस टू द लैंड रिकॉर्ड. आई कैन वेरीफाई कि इस आदमी का यहाँ पे घर है, फिर उसका वैल्यूएशन जो है वो मुझे पता है, तो आई कैन गिव यू अ लोन अगेंस्ट दैट इमीडिएटली. In due course, I can also mark lien against that property. All of those features will keep getting built. So see, it is a journey, right? जैसे जैसे ये develop होता रहेगा, everything can be digital instantaneously.
I'm so sorry, I'll have to cut you there because we cannot further the dialogue because it's been more than 31 minutes and we have to respect the other people as well. Apologies on that. We're going to be continuing with the conversation of you both offline because it's the end of today's session. Let's give them a big, big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. So sparking a lot of interest in this conversation. Firstly, if I could have Ankita Pednikar, Strategic Marketing Consultant, a Power Consultancy, and Priyanka Aher, Event Head and Cube Collaborations to join us for the felicitation of our speaker. I still remember when, ULI was launched in one of the prominent platforms where I was hosting. I think it sparked a lot of interest and it's great to see what the platform is about to achieve and the interest it has enormously received. But of course, with that, let's thank our speaker for his valuable time and a very well-rounded presentation from him, giving us education from all the experience he has garnered. So as the conversations continue, thank you so much, Mr. Rajan, for joining us. As the conversations continue, let me remind you that tomorrow we're going to be starting at 9 a.m. IST. Of course, expecting you to reach at 9 a.m. means there's going to be a lot of traffic. So what the team has done is just like today, at 8 a.m. the breakfast will open. Join us a little early so that you can relax before we begin. And we're going to be having a great day tomorrow. Awards in the evening, and of course, a day-long layout and planning of some great sessions. You have some pivotal figures joining us tomorrow, as you can see in the agenda. So do not go anywhere. Join us back at 8 a.m. for breakfast, and then we start at 9. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you at day 2.